The bank manager sized her up, doubted her story, and rejected her deposit. But minutes later, when her son walked in, just 4 words flipped the script. She's my mother, and I own this bank. To the automatic doors of Hillstone Federal Bank sighed open, letting in the bright late morning sunlight and the careful steps of 73-year-old Gloria Hightower. She used a cane, not out of necessity, but because she liked the feeling of steadiness it gave her. Her dark green dress was neatly ironed. Her silver hair was pinned up in the familiar style she'd worn for years. One hand gripped her purse, the other held a check made out to her. Gloria knew this bank well. She'd been a customer here for almost 15 years, always at this same branch, usually coming in midweek right after breakfast with friends at Janine's diner. But today felt off. The woman at the front desk barely looked up when Gloria entered. No friendly good morning. That was strange. Gloria didn't dwell on it. Maybe they were busy. Maybe the young woman wasn't taught to greet older people properly. She went to the counter and waited patiently behind a man in a baseball cap. After a few minutes, it was her turn. The teller, a girl maybe in her early 20s, glanced nervously over Gloria's shoulder. "One moment, please," she whispered, then vanished into a back room. Gloria stood quietly, still holding her check, still wearing a gentle smile. Moments later, a tall woman in a light grey blazer approached. She had sharp features, straight blonde hair, and eyes that judged instead of saw. Her name tag read Leslie Ryland, branch manager. "Can I help you, ma'am?" Leslie asked, folding her arms. Gloria lifted the check slightly. "Yes, I just need to deposit this into my savings." Leslie didn't take it. She looked at the check, then back at Gloria. "May I see your ID?" "Of course," Gloria replied, opening her purse. She handed over her driver's license and the check. It was a payout from her retirement account, nothing strange or suspicious. Leslie examined the ID for a very long time, then looked at the check again. "And how did you come into possession of this?" Gloria blinked. "I'm sorry?" "This check," Leslie said, waving it slightly, "is for a large amount. We have to verify things before processing. We've had cases." Gloria tilted her head. "I've deposited similar checks here before. Never had a problem." Leslie offered a tight, unconvincing smile. "Well, banking rules have changed, I'm sure you understand." A man a few spots away shifted uncomfortably. Gloria saw it from the corner of her eye. The woman behind her cleared her throat. People were watching now. Gloria took a slow breath. "Miss Ryland, I have all my information. This is my account. I have direct deposits set up. I've been a customer here for years. My name, my address, my ID, everything matches." But Leslie didn't back down. "Still, we need to do a deeper check. You'll have to come with me to the back office." That's when Gloria felt it. Not fear, not shame. Something closer to deep offense, not just for herself, but for every older woman who'd been talked down to, for every person who'd been treated with suspicion just for walking through a door. "I'd rather stay here," Gloria said firmly. Leslie leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. "Ma'am, either you cooperate, or we'll have to freeze these funds and report possible fraud. We've seen people try tricks like this before." Gloria felt her chest tighten. She wouldn't argue, not with someone like this, not in front of everyone. But she wasn't leaving either. Instead, she reached for her phone. Gloria's hands moved slowly, deliberately, not shaky, as she pulled her phone from her purse. The moment the screen lit up, Leslie narrowed her eyes. "I'm calling my son," Gloria said calmly, finding his number. "He'll help sort this out." Leslie let out a dry laugh. "Ma'am, calling your son won't change our rules. We have procedures. If everything's fine, you have nothing to worry about." Gloria didn't answer her. She just put the phone to her ear and took a step sideways, away from the counter. She was tired of being talked to like she was slow, like she couldn't handle her own money. Two tellers behind the glass exchanged looks. The young man at the end of the counter moved forward slightly as if to speak, then stopped. The room had gone quiet except for the soft tap of keyboards and the low hum of a copier nearby. "Hey, baby," Gloria said into the phone. "I'm at the bank, Hillstone on Meridian." "They're having trouble checking my check again." She paused. "Yes, her name is Leslie?" "The branch manager." Leslie's jaw tightened. "Excuse me, Mum, I'd prefer you not share staff names over the phone." Gloria didn't even glance at her. I'm fine, just tired." After a pause, "All right, I'll wait here." She hung up and slipped her phone away. Turning back with the same calm voice, she said, "My son's coming." Leslie crossed her arms. "Ma'am, I must remind you again, raising your voice or causing trouble can be reason to ask you to leave." Gloria tilted her head slightly. "Do I look like I'm causing trouble?" Leslie's face flushed pink. She looked away briefly, then back. "I have a job to protect this bank. If we don't check funds right, it puts us at risk." "You think I'm a risk?" "I think you're not helping," Leslie snapped. That was it. That one word. The man 2 spots back mumbled something under his breath. The woman behind Gloria leaned forward. "She's being polite. You're the one shouting." Leslie turned to them. "Please mind your own business. This is a private matter." "Doesn't feel very private," the woman shot back. Gloria stayed quiet through it all. She didn't need to fight. She just needed to wait. 5 more minutes passed. Leslie stepped aside, pretending to check a computer screen but glancing up often, like a dog waiting for its owner. The young teller returned, whispering in Leslie's ear. Leslie's eyes flicked toward the entrance, then the glass doors opened again. In walked a man in a dark grey suit, early 40s, crisp white shirt, no tie, calm but focused. He walked with quiet purpose, heading straight for the middle of the lobby, straight for Gloria. "Hi, Mama." Gloria smiled softly. "Hey, baby." Just like that, the room changed. The man turned to the counter. "Is there a problem with my mother's account?" Leslie stepped forward, unsure whether to offer a handshake or demand ID. She settled for a stiff nod. "This is your mother?" "Yes," he said simply. "My name is Grant Hightower." Leslie's lips parted. Her eyes darted around the room, then back at Gloria, then at Grant. "Mr. Hightower, as in—" Grant pulled out a leather card holder and laid it flat on the counter, his ID, his business card, his position. "Hillstone Federal, Executive Board Chair." Leslie's voice vanished for a full 10 seconds. No one spoke. She stared at the card like it might burn her. A small twitch started in her cheek, the kind that happens when your brain can't keep up with your eyes. Grant didn't rush her. He simply clasped his hands, standing tall and calm, his tone flat but rock solid. "I'm asking one more time," he said. "Was there a problem with my mother's account?" Leslie swallowed. "Mr. Hightower, we were just following the rules. Big checks need checking and Grant cut her off, not loudly, but sharply. "You looked her in the face and decided she wasn't trustworthy. You asked where the check came from. You asked how she got it. Does that sound like the standard rules?" Leslie's mouth opened again. No words came out. Her face was a shade paler. "Because I read those rules," Grant continued. "I signed off on them last quarter. Nowhere does it say to question a long-time customer while ignoring her ID, especially not in front of a room full of people." The bank fell dead silent. Only the click of keyboards and the hum of the AC overhead could be heard. No one dared look away now. Gloria stood slightly to the side, arms folded loosely. She wasn't smiling. She didn't look pleased. She looked weary. "I'm sorry, Mr. Hightower," Leslie said quickly. "This is just a mix-up. I didn't mean to upset anyone." "But you did," Grant stated. "You embarrassed her." "I didn't." "You did." Grant's tone never rose. That made it heavier. No yelling, just facts, just his presence. Leslie's voice shook. I I didn't know she was your mother." Grant stared at her. Why would that matter? Leslie opened her mouth, closed it. "You hear how that sounds?" he asked. "You just said it out loud." For the first time, Leslie truly looked at Gloria. Really looked. There wasn't just shame on her face now. There was fear. Fear of what might happen next. "Have a seat," Grant said, nodding toward the chair behind the counter. "I'll handle the deposit." Leslie hesitated. That wasn't a suggestion. Leslie turned slowly and walked toward the back, her shoes tapping loudly on the tile. Grant stepped forward, picked up the check, glanced at it, then tapped a few numbers into the screen. The young teller watched, wide-eyed. "There you go," he said, handing the receipt to his mother. "Full deposit. Done right now." Gloria took the slip, folded it in half and nodded. "Thank you, baby." "You okay?" "I'm fine." They stood like that for a second, just a mother and son in the quiet after a storm. Then Gloria said, "You didn't have to come all the way down here?" Grant gave her a look. "Yes, I did." "But you're busy. You have meetings, a board to run." He shrugged. "You ran a home for 25 years with one paycheck, 4 kids, and a Buick that barely started. I can spare a few minutes." She chuckled softly. "You always were dramatic." He smiled. "And you always were the calm one." But the moment wasn't over. Grant turned slowly, letting his eyes move across the room. Customers were still there. Some pretended to check phones. Others froze mid-task, trying to seem invisible while seeing everything. The woman behind Gloria had stepped back, giving them space. The man who'd spoken up earlier gave Grant a small, respectful nod. Grant didn't speak to them, but he didn't ignore them either. He knew they'd remember this, every detail. Not just because of who he was, but because of what they saw. A woman made to feel small until the truth walked in wearing a suit. Leslie wasn't gone long. She returned with a senior manager, nervous and fidgety, trying to smile but failing. The older man whispered to Grant, offered an apology, and gestured toward the back offices. But Grant didn't move. "She's fine now," he said, nodding to his mother. "But this isn't about a deposit anymore. It's about how she was treated while doing something." "She's done this 100 times without trouble, Mr. Hightower," the man began. "We fully understand that and take it seriously. Miss Ryland has only been here under a year. She's still getting used to the role." "Stop," Grant said. "Don't make excuses for her. That's not your job. It's hers." Leslie stood frozen, hands clasped too tightly, clearly fighting tears or the urge to speak. "Your job," Grant turned to the associate, "is to look around this room, understand what it means when a valued customer gets treated like a criminal just because she doesn't look wealthy enough." "I assure you." Grant held up a hand. "Have you ever looked someone like my mother in the eye and thought she must be doing something wrong? Have you ever hesitated over a white customer depositing a check?" The man flinched. "That's not—" "Don't lie to me," Grant said. "I'm not the board chair right now, I'm just a son. What I saw this morning was the woman who taught me honesty, patience, and respect being questioned like she faked her own name." Gloria finally stepped in. "Baby." But Grant wasn't done. "You could have asked questions politely. You could have taken her aside and explained your worry, but you made a scene. You made her feel unwelcome, and you only stopped because I walked in wearing an expensive suit." He let the silence hang heavy. Gloria looked around, catching faces. Some ashamed, some angry, some hopeful. She took her son's arm, gently. "Let's go," she said softly. "Don't waste your breath." He turned to her, jaw tight, chest tense. Then he saw it in her eyes. That familiar calm she carried when working 2 jobs yet still making dinner, when facing the world's harshness with grace. He nodded. "All right." They walked toward the exit together, passing the tellers, the customers, and the stunned manager who couldn't meet their eyes. Before stepping through the doors, Grant stopped. He turned back, looked straight at Leslie, and said quietly, "Every customer here deserves the same respect you'd give your boss, because you never know who they are or who raised them." They left, but the trouble was just starting. By the time Grant and Gloria reached the sidewalk, his phone was buzzing non-stop. First his assistant, then a board member, then the bank's top lawyer. Word had spread incredibly fast. A customer recorded part of it, and the video was already spreading. Gloria glanced over. "You're not answering." Grant let it ring. "Number, not now." They walked slowly, the sun warming Gloria's head as cars drove by on Meridian Avenue. Neither spoke. They needed the quiet. "You didn't need to come so fast," she finally said. Grant chuckled without smiling. "You say that every time. I can handle myself. I know you can." Gloria stopped at a bench and sat. Grant stood nearby, watching notifications flood his locked phone screen like building blocks. He wasn't ready to deal with them yet. Inside the bank, Leslie sat frozen in her small glass office. A regional manager had already called. HR wanted a report by day's end. But what haunted her was how Grant had looked at her, not like he was belittling her, but like the truth had shrunk her own poor judgment. The next morning, Hillstone Federal's board released a statement. An internal investigation was open. Customers would hear about new sensitivity training and customer service rules. But that was just official talk. The real change happened behind closed doors. Later that week, Grant sat at the head of the conference table, the same table usually focused on profits and investments. This time was different. "I want every manager to retake customer service training," he said. "But not with those old corporate videos. We're bringing in outside teachers. I want real practice, eye contact, role-playing, honest reflection." An older board member raised an eyebrow. "That's a big shift." "It should be," Grant replied. Then the question about Leslie. Grant paused. He didn't want her fired, not because she didn't deserve consequences, but because revenge wasn't what his mother taught him. "She's suspended," he said finally, "while we review, but I care more about fixing the culture that made her think acting like that was okay." That evening, Gloria sat in her favorite chair by the window. The house was quiet except for the old clocks ticking and the gentle bubbling of her evening tea. Grant was on the couch, tie off, shoes loose. "You handled it well," she said. He shrugged. "I got angry." You should have." He looked up. "You're not mad?" Gloria gave a dry laugh. "Baby, I've lived through worse. That wasn't the first time someone tried to make me feel unwelcome. Probably won't be the last. That's what bothers me most," Grant said. "That it's nothing new." She sipped her tea. "You can't control how people treat you, only how you answer them." Grant leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I just hate that you had to answer that kind of foolishness at this point in your life." Gloria smiled. "Funny thing is, the older I get, the less it bothers me. What hurt wasn't her words. It was that she thought she could speak to anyone that way." She paused. "But maybe now she won't." Still, it wasn't truly over until good came from it. The following week, Gloria returned to the bank. Same shoes, same purse, different feeling. The moment she stepped in, every employee behind the counter stood a little straighter. The new temporary manager, a calm woman named Denise Alvarez, came around the desk to greet her personally. "Miss Hightower," she said gently. "We're so happy to see you." Gloria smiled faintly. "Just need to take out some cash." "Of course, I'll help you myself." As they walked to the counter, Gloria noticed the wall posters had changed, not the ones for loans or savings accounts. Those were still there. New ones hung near the front. A series titled "Respect is Standard," featuring photos of real local customers, all with the same message. "We see you, we serve you, we respect you. It wasn't a perfect fix, not yet, but it was a start. Denise walked Gloria through the withdrawal, patient, clear, no extra questions, no suspicious looks, just business done right. Before Gloria left, Denise added, "We're starting community meetings next month, listening sessions really. Grant asked us to invite long-time customers like you. Would you consider speaking?" Gloria raised her eyebrows. "You want me to give a speech?" "Not a speech, just tell your story. However you want." Gloria thought about it. "I'll come, but I won't soften the truth. We don't want you to." Gloria walked out that day, not feeling proud, exactly, but heard. And at her age, that mattered. Later that evening, Gloria sat across from Grant in a quiet booth at an old Fort Worth barbecue joint they both loved. It smelled like hickory smoke and cornbread, and nobody cared what either did for a living. "Remember that day in 7th grade?" Gloria asked suddenly, picking at her baked beans. "When you stood up to that teacher?" "Which one?" "Mr. Hale. He said you copied your paper." Grant sighed. "Yeah, I remember. Came home with the paper, tears in my eyes, swearing I didn't cheat. And I believed you. But I still made you sit down and write the whole thing again." He smiled. "You said sometimes doing it twice is what proves it was yours the first time." She nodded. "Exactly." Grant looked at her. "You think that's what this was? Doing it twice?" "Well, no," Gloria said. "I think this time someone else had to do the rewriting, not you." He let that sink in, then she added, "I didn't raise you to be rich, Grant. I raised you to be right." He looked at her, emotion just below the surface. "I know." "And sometimes," she said, "being right means leaving your comfort zone. You walk into rooms that don't want you. You speak when it's easier to stay quiet. You come down to the bank even when it feels beneath you, because nothing's beneath you if it's happening to someone you love." He blinked once, twice, then smiled. "You know, you really should speak at that meeting." "Oh, I will," Gloria said. "But I'm bringing my purse, my cane, and my full voice. No softening it this time." Grant laughed. "You never softened it. You just made it sound kind." She grinned, dabbing her mouth with her napkin. "Kind doesn't mean quiet." But that wasn't the end. 3 weeks later, the community meeting filled a modest civic center off Lancaster Avenue. No red carpet, no cameras, just folding chairs, a simple podium, and a hand-painted sign. "Listening Circle, Hillstone Federal Bank." The room was half full when Gloria arrived. Bank staff, customers, older folks, young professionals, small business owners, and a few observers. She wore a deep blue blouse that made her silver hair shine, and her usual pearl earrings, the ones she wore to her granddaughter's graduation. Conversation hushed as heads turned. Grant sat near the front, but stayed seated. She didn't need an escort today. Gloria didn't step behind the podium. She stood beside it, close enough to be heard, looking people in the eye. The room fell silent. She cleared her throat. "I'm Gloria Hightower. I'm a retired school nurse. Lived here over 40 years. Been with Hillstone Federal nearly 15 years. A few nods of recognition. I came because I was asked to share my story. But this isn't just about what happened to me that morning at the bank. That part's simple. I was treated poorly. Questioned for trying to deposit a check with my own name on it. Made to feel like I didn't belong. Not because of anything I said or did, just because of how I looked." Her voice didn't shake. It didn't rise. It was low, full, and firm. I wasn't angry at first. I was hurt, because I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. Yet someone decided I was suspicious. Someone decided my dignity was negotiable. She paused, letting it sink in. I wasn't going to speak up. I was just going to call my son and wait quietly. But here's what I realized later. Silence is what people count on when they treat others badly. They count on our politeness, our patience, our exhaustion. But sometimes the most respectful thing you can do is not let it slide. The room held its breath. I'm not here to ruin anyone's career. I'm not here for revenge. What I want is change, not for me. I'm 73. I've seen enough of this world to know what it is. But for the next person who walks into a bank in good faith and leaves feeling smaller than they came in, a man near the back wiped his eye. A woman clutched her notepad, not writing. Gloria folded her hands. We live in a country that talks a lot about fairness, about values, about treating everyone equally, but those ideas don't mean anything unless they show up in everyday moments. At the counter, on the phone, in how we speak to someone who doesn't look like us. She glanced briefly at Grant. He didn't smile, didn't nod, he just watched her, like you watch a fire that warms and humbles you. Thank you for listening. She stepped back, no fanfare. The room didn't erupt in applause. It didn't need to, gentle clapping, bowed heads. What lingered was heavier than noise. Reflection. Afterward, people lined up, not for handshakes, but to talk, to share. One woman described the same thing at another branch. A young man said it reminded him of his grandmother being followed in stores. Bank staff, mostly, just said, "Thank you," their eyes saying far more than their mouths could. That night, Gloria sat in her quiet kitchen, tea in hand. Grant texted, "You were incredible." They'll remember that. She typed back slowly. I didn't do it to be remembered. I did it so they remember each other.